Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your day. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. And who's gonna make it?
Welcome back to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this last Monday in March. Want to thank all our first hour guests, including Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles, Dr. David Paitson, athletic director from Lake Superior State University, along with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who continues to join us in hour two for the roundtable. And we are joined by one of our contributors, or other two contributors, out sick tonight, but not this gentleman, E.J. Russell, joining us from Escanaba, Michigan. E.J., how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good, and I'll tell you what, happy to be here. Work has been insane, selling plenty of new and used vehicles lately, but it's been a blast. I was in a tight pinch to try to get here on time, but happy as always to be here and more than excited to discuss sports with you two fine gentlemen.
That's EJ joining us on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota in Escanaba. EJ, we're going to give you first crack on the roundtable. We'll have time for at least one topic from each of us before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down. Butch, I'm going to give you first crack at EJ's topic. So, EJ Russell, what's on your mind in the world of sports tonight, my friend?
Well, NCAA tournament is in the top of everybody's minds right now. And as much as I want to get into that, and I hope that we have some time to at the end of the evening, I would like to discuss the recent retirement of one Rob Gronkowski. And I'm choosing to bring this up because we as broadcasters and we as sports commentators constantly look at who's the best of this position, who's the best of all time, who's the best at this. And I want to put up to you guys, with his retirement as of yesterday, is Rob Gronkowski the best tight end of all time? And if he's not, who do you have in front of him? And I also open it up to some general football conversation, but I think that with the 9-year career that Rob Gronkowski has had, 3-time Super Bowl champion that he is, I think that he deserves a small piece of conversation, and it is one of the hot topics in sports today. Is Gronkowski the best tight end of all time? And if he's not, who do you have in front of him?
Butch, I'll go to you first. Gronk retiring after 9 seasons. There are a lot of tight ends that played a lot longer than 9 seasons. I'll let you discuss EJ's topic.
Okay. Well, no, he's not the best I've seen. Okay. And you know, I have to give the guy credit. He's made the game a lot more fun and more enjoyable to watch because of his antics on and off the field per se, and also his will to win, because no one gives him credit for being one of the better blocking tight ends in the league there per se, but he always got the job done and made New England look good here. If you're saying I've seen a lot of tight ends in my day. I've seen Charlie Sanders, and he's a doggone good tight end. I put him ahead of him. Mark Barrow. No one mentions this guy's name a lot here, but that's one of the best tight ends I've seen in a long, long, long time there. And I really put him ahead of Gronkowski there as far as his play. And Mark, he did some tremendous things for the Giants when he was available for them. You go back in the old days, the Dick Buckus, not Dick Buckus, but Mike Ditka's there.
Yes.
Who basically, they spit it and tore it dry there. I mean, those were the days when football was football. You got out there, you roughed it and toughed it out there. And there was no give for any player out there, where right now the game is more or less put together as a patsy game because we want to protect the quarterback, and the quarterback is more precious than anybody else, and that's BS on a crap pole there, that is always about the quarterback. I don't think it's always about the quarterback when you got 10 other guys on the doggone team that has to protect them, guide them, and make the play work. Also on defense, say those 11 people on defense, they don't deserve no rally or cry as well there. So, no, he wouldn't be the best that I've seen. He's one of the best now that I'm looking at on television, per se. He is going to be missed. But again, I think it was a very smart move for him for all the injuries he has had. He's quite young, 29 years old, giving up 9 years of his livelihood for football. That's a whole heck of a lot in human being years there. If we had doggy years there, he would be broken down to a no, not one. But again, Gronkowski's done he's done this big deed there, and basically showing people that he played this football in a manly way. He enjoyed it. He had fun at it, and he's 29 years old. He's more marketable doing other things. I'm quite sure he'll be involved in television and some other projects that basically his name will be called, and that's including the WWE, who basically right now you might want to look at him might taking a shot of doing something, of making some significant money and still putting his name out there in lights.
Yeah, I'll go next, Butch. I think you make a lot of good points there as far as Gronk. I mean, this guy has a lot going on. 3 Super Bowl championships. He had a fantastic 9 seasons in New England, and he's marketable in the WWE. We've seen him. My kids love a show that he did called Crashleets, which had videos of things kind of like the America's Funniest Home Videos. He's got the personality. He's got the look. He's going to be successful in whatever he does, and I think it's a good move for him. 9 years, you have that risk of injury, as any professional football player does. So I think Gronk made a good decision. Being that he's only been in the league 9 years, as far as best tight end in the history of pro football, Butch mentioned a few, but to me, it starts and it stops with Tony Gonzalez. I mean, this guy played from 97 to 2013, voted to NFL record 14 Pro Bowls, including NFL records for career receiving yards, receptions, and tight ends. For a tight end, he started 120 NFL games, which is second most for a tight end. And it really starts and stops with me with Tony Gonzalez, another one that I think is one of the best tight ends of all time, Kellen Winslow. I know that's one, EJ, that you might be familiar with. He played for the San Diego Chargers. He did very well. And how about this one for the Detroit Lions? They've had some problems with tight ends over the past few years. How about Charlie Sanders, who played for the Lions in the late 60s throughout the 1970s? He was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So those are 3 that I think, over their careers maybe were a little bit better than Rob Gronkowski. Maybe not as much Sanders, but I don't think that anybody can argue that Tony Gonzalez at this point is the best tight end that has played the game, at least in my opinion. But hey, we have our own opinions, and that's why we have our roundtable. E.J. Russell, your thoughts on your own topic?
Well, I'm going to say that he is the best tight end of all time, but I understand I'm going to catch some blowback from this, and I'd love to hear what you guys think if you want to continue on this. But I think he is the greatest tight end of all time. We need not concern ourselves with the number of seasons a player has played in this league. And the reason I say that is Jim Brown is widely considered the best or one of the 2 or 3 best running backs of all time in professional football. And I believe he played the exact same number of seasons and went on the top of his career as one of the best at the time. Now, when it comes to being the best tight end of all time, I think what's important to consider here is something that Butch brought up, and that is that the game has changed very significantly in favor of passing and the quarterbacks in the last few years. But I think that the three most comparable wide receivers to Rob Gronkowski, number one, you have to have Tony Gonzalez there, because Tony Gonzalez did that before any other player did. And he really set an example for what that needs to be. Now, unfortunately, Gronkowski did suffer injuries earlier in his career, to include significant arm and leg injuries. But he is a guy that every time he was on the field, he was almost unguardable. And I think that he did that better than Tony did. But Tony is the benchmark for what a passing wide receiver should be. Tight end. And there's two other guys that I think are comparable as being considered one of the greatest of all time because of their contributions to the game. And I think those guys are Kellen Winslow and Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka became one of those receiving tight ends before anybody else really caught on to him. I get that there are other guys like Ozzie Newsome, and we can continue to go back to a lot of these other players. But I think that Mike Ditka really started to change what the tight end position could be. And then as it was making that change in the next generation or two, comes Kellen Winslow, who had significant time with the San Diego Chargers. And the reason Scott refers to that name and me knowing is because his son played for my Browns and wasn't necessarily the best player that we ever had at the tight end position. But I think that those two guys, especially coach, and this is in his playing days, Mike Ditka, he changed the way that a tight end can be used. And then I think Kellen Winslow went out and mastered that, but blocking was still more of the game back then. There was significantly more running. And I think Tony Gonzalez then took that next step. But if you look at Rob Gronkowski as a pass blocker, and I saw the statistic today, I believe he had something like a 98 and change, 98 point something win rate on pass blocking. That means that 98% of the time, if you were throwing a pass and he wasn't going out for one, he was holding his guy. He was winning that battle. That player wasn't getting around him. And I think that that's a significant statistic that people overlook when it comes to Rob Gronkowski, because we all know the touchdowns and the spiking and the robot celebrations and the partying and what his personality was as an individual and in his playing style. But people underestimated him as a blocker. And I think that in his time in the NFL, he was one of the best blocking tight ends, but was always overlooked for that because of his receiving successes that he has. I think he has to be considered as one of the best players of all time. If he goes another 5 years, I don't think that there's any question that he catches Tony Gonzalez in touchdowns. I mean, Rob Gronkowski is third all-time right now with 9 seasons as a tight end in touchdown receptions. And that's something that needs to be looked at. I really do believe, and some of this is because I've grown up watching him more than a lot of these other players. But you guys both know me. I do watch film of these older guys, and I consider myself as somewhat of a historian when it comes to football. I try to know the history into the game because it is important. And that's why I love bringing this up as a topic, because we're naming guys like Ditka, like Winslow, like Ozzie, like Jason Witten, Tony Romo, and other players like Dave Casper. I mean, we can pick these other guys and choose who the best is of all time. But that's part of why I love when a guy like Gronkowski retires. And knowing that history, I really believe that at this exact moment, the best tight end of all time should be Rob Gronkowski.
Great topic, EJ. Excuse me. Let's move on to Butch. Any final thoughts on EJ's topic? And then, Butch, why don't you throw out a topic of your own?
Well, I do have some things there that we didn't mention the gentleman from the greater Detroit area who still particularly plays ball for the LA Chargers there. We haven't mentioned him either in that while of a good tight end that, again, still playing and still making contributions in the league. And again, if you kids have never heard of, Mark Favaro, look up. Take a look at some of the film that he was in. He was a mainstay when it comes down to tight ends in the league there. And again, there's a lot that you can withhold there, but again, the game has changed so doggone much that it's a favorable game for the quarterbacks per se. We gotta do some head hunting there. Again, some of the tight ends you mentioned. Gonzalez was there. boy, it's been some good ones around there. But again, we gotta look at the whole mental work there, and tomorrow uh, was one of the best. We got a lot of background noise here, but
The Russians, Butch, the Russians.
there's something to get them out of here. Shoot, on my nerves. Shoot. But now I can concentrate here. Yeah, that was making it very hard. But again,
All around the case.
yes, it was. You know, well, you know, again, he's going to go to Hall of Fame. Gronkowski is there. There's no doubt about that. He got his 5-year wait, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame. And again, I just think it's worth his while that he do retire because, again, he's very young and age, 29 years old. That means he started in this league at 20 years old. That ain't even 21. You know, let's give him credit. He's one of the best tight ends I've seen in a while. And, you know, from these other players that we have mentioned there, and including some of the players that are still playing now. And again, I do mention the gentleman from Detroit who's still playing for the San Diego Chargers, but he's the Los Angeles Chargers now. That
Antonio Gates, right, Butch?
Yeah, Antonio Gates. That's right. No one's mentioned this name, but again, he's just as good, if not better, than Gronkowski. You just don't hear a lot of him because he is on the left coast playing ball there. But again, and still playing with the many amount of years that he's going on there. And some of the records is not going to be surpassed because Antonio Gates have them, okay? So, you know, let's not put them all down there. Let's look at it for what it is. He's one of the best tight ends right now that we've seen actively in the NFL, and he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Butch, what topic would you like to bring up on the roundtable tonight, sir?
I really don't know. I really don't know. The NFL is having meetings this week with the executives there, and I'm quite sure a whole heck of a lot's going to be covered publicly and not publicly here, okay? And we all know what those are. And I think what can these executives get out of this particular meeting that's going to make the NFL a lot tolerable season, this upcoming 2019-20 season?
Yeah, Butch, I'll start, then go to EJ. The meeting's going on in Phoenix, Arizona, talking about, you know, the NFL and some of the things that's going on. And, you know, forgotten, I think, over the past few weeks and even months is what happened to New Orleans and what happened with those officials who we don't hear much about after the fact as far as, well, they cost New Orleans a spot in the Super Bowl. And I think that the NFL and the owners and the rules committee need to look at what is reviewable and what is not. Now, if you see something like what happened to New Orleans, the fact that they couldn't review that call, I think that there needs to be something done as far as rule changes to make certain plays reviewable. Now, I don't know exactly the what's or the wheres, but you know, there's got to be something done when a call is that egregious and it has been yet to stand. And so I really think that they need to look at the officials and accountability, something we've talked about on this show a lot. I know a lot of attention will be made to New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and a certain video that may be released of him going into a certain salon, for lack of a better term, down in Florida, and some of the things that's going on there. You know, those are the two things as far as what's going on in the rules committee and what's going on as far as the owners meeting that I've paid attention to. I haven't really looked into it too much, but Robert Kraft could be in for a long few weeks, especially if that video surfaces of him, I'll just leave it at that. EJ, I'm going to turn it over quickly to you for your thoughts on Butch's topic.
Well, I'm not overly concerned with the Robert Kraft situation. I mean, that's just a mess either way. Let the NFL handle that as they must. And I don't really want to talk about that. I do think that the rule changes are what's most important right now. And they're looking at making pass interference a reviewable call. And the committee has been named. The competition committee, I believe it is looking at instant replay this year in regards to pass interference. And I want to read a couple of names on this list. You got the Falcons president, the Giants owner, the Cowboys owner, Stephen Jones, not Jerry, presidents and general managers of a few teams, 2 head coaches, though, Mike Tomlin, and the last name on this committee this year that's ruling on this is Sean Payton. And I think that that's important to know. It's not going to fix anything that happened, but I do believe that pass interference needs to be a reviewable call. They're setting some conditions for it that also make it an automatically reviewable call in regards to touchdowns and situations like that. But I think that there are some rules that need to be looked at. As much as I think instant replay can fix things like what happened to the New Orleans Saints, I don't think that this is going to make the game more viewable. It's going to make it less watchable because we're going to see more instant replays. And that's the part where I look at the NFL and I say you have to draw a line somewhere. And I think that penalties have always been one of those things to me that I've always felt shouldn't be reviewable. I think that they just need to find a better way to not let those kind of mistakes happen. I think one of the best rule proposals is the sky judge, and that can allow the sky judge with a different angle to make a call from the sky. And I think that that's better than making penalties reviewable. I think that sky judge can make a delayed call and buzz down just like they would for automatic reviews. I think that that's a good idea. I like the sky judge idea. I don't know if if you're going to call pass interference penalties, I'm not against it. But I think that the NFL needs to stay consistent at the same time with not calling it. I have a feeling the rule's going to change, and I'm all for it if it does. But if you want to not make that reviewable and continue to keep the game at a faster pace, introduce this sky judge. I think the sky judge can help correct a lot of those things and continue to keep the pace moving forward. So we'll see what the NFL decides with that. I am excited to see what other rule changes come out. Things about NFL overtime have been proposed as well. I know the Kansas City Chiefs are positioning their stance on this in a way that they would have gotten the ball back in that Patriots game. So we'll see what happens with the rule changes. I'm excited to see the game move forward positively. This time of year, I want to stay out of the negative light. The draft's coming in. I'm sure something negative will come out about some player, as it always does. But rule changes are the main topic for me when it comes to the NFL offseason talks.
Butch, let's go to your thoughts on your own topic about the NFL meetings.
Well, the NFL meetings are going to be pretty doggone important this year for several reasons. Number one, the integrity of everyone in the National Football League, the players, the coaches, the general managers, the owners, the administration staff, okay, because they all had a hit last year on what made the NFL bad, okay? Let's start first with the refereeing or the penalty per se there. That sky judge has been in the business right now for quite some time there, especially when after the 2 minutes of the lateral part of the game where that particular judge has merit of watching the instant replay for touchdowns or what it may be. It has not been expanded to look at penalties that were not called on the field. In this case, in the New Orleans game where there was so much doggone trouble, a penalty was not called. That's where that sky judge said, you know what, there were some improprieties on a particular play with with the particular receivers per se. They can overlook that and then make the ruling that, yes, that should have been a penalty, and then you take the game back to where it should have been. Because, again, that was a blatant penalty that millions of people saw, but yet still the officials on the field did not catch. That sky judge would have been very instrumental in being able to use the electronics necessary and needed, just like those scoreboards. In every stadium show those instant replays, they will have that advantage, and then that play could have been overturned there. I think that's important. It has to be on the top agenda to make this game a lot more decent and tolerable for everyone to watch. Again, we forget that our children are watching these particulars there. We forget that families put their time and effort and stock into a Sunday afternoon to watch these particular games and whatnot there. We forget that the people who are going to make this that league a better league is those kids who are coming down the road there. We forget that. It has to have some doggone integrity in it, or again, those parents who do have the say of their children participating and taking part in the game is not going to get those particular chances because again, the parents are going to have the up and say, "This is the reason why I don't want you playing it there." It's a lot more exciting thing. We do have some coaches, 2 coaches for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are women this year who are going to be in the coaching staff on that particular team. That's going to be looked at, and that's going to be kind of encouraged that more women get involved in certain areas of the game. I'm quite sure they're going to talk about that. And regardless if you like it or not, the Robert Kraft situation is going to be like that. I'm quite sure some of the owners are trying to get numbers of where Kraft went to and alternative places that they can't get caught. So with that saying in general there, there's going to be a lot going on. I'm very anxious on Wednesday to hear Robert Goodell speak his mind on what things are going to be changed, what's not going to be changed, and where he needs the NFL to move up in merit, and some of the things that go bad to make those things a good thing for the NFL.
Scott Nason, Butch Davis, E.J. Russell, here at the Wicked Sister. I am E.J. Russell in Escanaba, Butch Davis in the Metro Detroit area here on the round table. Gentlemen, let's continue the topics. E.J., you're going to get your wish. We are going to talk NCAA men's basketball brackets and the Sweet 16, which will start on Thursday night. I had a chance to watch a lot, and I mean a lot, of college basketball over the last 4 days. Some of my favorite days in sports were the last 4 days, and, well, chalk is what seemed to have happened for some of these brackets. Most people's brackets intact. As a matter of fact, I still have 7 of my 8 Elite 8 teams in. I have 14 of the 16 teams in the Sweet 16 because there was a lot of chalk that happened. In the East, Duke will take on Virginia Tech. Butch and I talked about the great game against Florida State. Boy, that one, Central Florida, they had that game. They're up 4. They had a 2-on-1. They missed the alley-oop, and then some maybe calls that weren't called, maybe a charge against Zion. Duke survives. They'll take on Paul Van Wagner's Virginia Tech Hokies. In the other side of the bracket, Michigan State getting in their first Sweet 16 in 4 years. They'll take on LSU. So all the top seeds in the East are going to advance or have advanced in Washington, D.C. In the West, same thing. 1, 2, 3, and 4 all make it. Gonzaga, they'll take on Florida State. Florida State knocked Gonzaga out last year. The other side of the bracket, Michigan, looking good. They'll take on a very good Texas Tech team in that 2-3 matchup, so that's going to be interesting. In the South, which will happen in Louisville, Virginia, a little shaky start against Gardner-Webb, but they looked good against Oklahoma yesterday. They'll take on Oregon, the only double-digit seed that made it to the Sweet 16. Oregon taking out Wisconsin and then UC Irvine. You have the 2-3 matchup in the South. Tennessee, who survived a late comeback. Iowa was down 25. They sent it to overtime, but Tennessee advances, taking on Purdue, who knocked out Virginia. And in the Midwest, North Carolina, the top seed, they'll take on Auburn. Auburn, I'll tell you, they're looking very good. The only other lower seed to make the Sweet 16 at 5. And then in the Midwest, the other regional semifinal will be taking place as Kentucky will take on Houston. So lots of chalk, lots of number 1s, 2s, and 3 seeds. As a matter of fact, all the top 1, 2s, and 3s make it. 3 of the 4 seeds make it. The only one, Kansas State. Then you have a 5 and a 12. So let's talk tournament. Let's talk March Madness. E.J. Russell, we'll go to you first. My Final Four was Duke, along with Florida State, Virginia, and Kentucky. With Duke and Virginia in the final. I have Duke cutting down the nets. But I was a little nervous against that Central Florida game, a team that should have really won that game. EJ, your thoughts on the NCAA basketball tournament?
Well, I think that Duke had its wake-up moment, and I think that Taco Fall really did a good job of keeping UCF in that game. And boy, if he gains a little bit of athleticism, he's going to be dangerous at the next level. Virginia Tech, I'm not surprised to see him make it this far because I have watched them this year. They are a good team when they play well. I think Michigan State's doing what it needs to do, taking care of business. Gonzaga looking good throughout this. And the team that I didn't have a ton of confidence in making it past the first round was Oregon. And I'm really excited to see that they made it. And UC Irvine getting a win as well. That's really cool. I think that's awesome. But my Final Four is still intact. My Midwest is almost exactly how I predicted it. I'm very strong down there in my bracket. But I got Duke, Gonzaga, Purdue, and Auburn. I think Auburn's playing great basketball right now. And I think that they are giant killers at this exact moment. And they can go out and beat anybody the way they're playing basketball. And I have them making it to the finals, but I do have Duke winning it all. I think that they're just too talented to lose.
Butch, let's go to you. We talked about it in hour one, the Michigan teams and Oregon. Your thoughts on the Sweet 16 and the men's basketball tournament?
It's gonna be a pretty shaky doggone thing with Duke and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, as you know, beat Duke before there. We're gonna see that happen again. Not happening. And I'm sorry to say, our buddy down there, we got to talk to him at Virginia Tech and see really how the atmosphere is there for that particular game. You'll get an opportunity to do that this week.
Sure.
Michigan State and LSU there. That's going to be a pretty doggone close game indeed. Michigan State is going to be tested in that particular game, and I do expect that to be a very good game. Again, I'm pulling for Michigan State to win that one again. Gonzaga and Florida State, that's going to be a barn burner in general, especially because, again, Gonzaga has not been challenged as much as the other teams in this tournament so far. That'll be their first challenge of the particular there. And Michigan against Texas Tech, that's going to be something that is going to be very desirable indeed there. So I'm rooting for Michigan to head to the Elite Eight there in that particular game. Houston surprised me tremendously there, okay, in their climb up there. That's one of the teams that I don't think a lot of people were expecting to do what they had to do there, including Kentucky, who got a scare from Wofford there. Are they going to be ready to compete there? Auburn has looked very, very good. I picked them to beat Kansas, and so they're still there, okay, per se there. So that makes my seeding 8 for 8 there, as far as getting into that on the bracket. So I'm still alive in all of that there. Tennessee, of course, I voted for them to be in the particular there. Iowa, I picked them over Cincinnati, so I'm still great in that regards there. And that's going to be pretty doggone good against Purdue and Tennessee there. I wasn't expecting that too doggone much. Of course, Oregon is going to get their best challenge against the number one Virginia. If Oregon can get through the marsh with Virginia there, it's going to be very tired for me not to say that Oregon's not going to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, you look at these Sweet 16 matchups, there's really not a bad game among any of them. Duke, Virginia Tech, those teams have met a couple times. Virginia Tech winning the last one. Michigan State, LSU. LSU, a lot of turmoil there with the bribery scandal and losing their coach. And Michigan State, a little shaky in their first game, but boy, they dominated Minnesota in game 2. And, you look at Cassius Winston, he has really had a season to remember. Florida State, Gonzaga, a team that a lot of people don't believe in. Florida State looks tough. I like them in that matchup. And then Michigan, Texas Tech. Texas Tech, a team that maybe didn't come into the tournament with a lot of confidence, losing in their first round of the conference tournament, but that's going to be a good matchup as well. Virginia, Oregon, as Butch mentioned. Who knows? Virginia, that team, I don't know about them sometimes. I scratch my head at some of them. I thought Tennessee was a little overrated going into the tournament. They'll take on Purdue, North Carolina, Auburn. I think of all the games, that might be the most entertaining one to watch. Auburn's playing some basketball, as EJ said. Then Kentucky, Houston. So you got the top of the crop as far as no small schools left in the Sweet 16, and it's going to be definitely exciting, no doubt about that. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, gentlemen. I will start. Let's give a couple thumbs up. First of all, to the St. Ignace Saints girls basketball team, 27-1 on the season. They came up 2 points short in the Division IV championship on Saturday at Calvin College, but head coaches Doreen and Doug Ingalls, they have a program and a very good one in St. Ignace. 5 state titles in the past 20 years. I think it was 8 finals in the last 20 years. And so that's a program that just continues year in and year out to produce great basketball teams. And they have a lot of players returning, and no doubt they'll be back, hopefully at the Breslin Center next year, where the finals should certainly be. Thumbs up to the Wisconsin Badgers women's hockey team winning the NCAA title over the weekend over Minnesota by the score of 2-0. Of course, playing on that team is Sioux, Michigan native, and I will say the best athlete to come out of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, Abby Rock, winning a NCAA title. She already has a gold medal, and you're going to see her on the women's Olympic team coming up very soon. Great job, Abby. Great job, Wisconsin. Thumbs down, I got a couple of them. First of all, to the Tom Izzo, I guess, controversy in the opening game against Bradley. A couple instances where Izzo got very invested in the play, and some people took exception to how he talked to his players and maybe how intense he got with his players. To me, that's a bunch of you know what, and I'm not going to say what it is, but you can pretty much read my lips, and I'm going to say bollocks, as they say over in the United Kingdom. Izzo puts his heart into what he does. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I just think it was ridiculous how some things on social media sometimes take a life of their own. And I just don't get how people just take exception to somebody that is very intense as a coach. You know, does he want to give everybody a participation medal? No, he wants to have a winning program. And ask any player that played for Tom Izzo, they'll tell you he is a great coach, and I just think it's a bunch of nonsense. And thumbs down to the Fox Sports Detroit crew that did the girls' finals. I'm not going to name any names, but watching that St. Ignace game, I got to say, as a play-by-play guy, when you are calling the girls by their first name during a state final, there's something wrong there. I thought the broadcast was terrible, and Fox Sports Detroit should maybe look at getting a little more seasoned broadcasters doing those games. I don't want to hear Katie pass it to Maddie, pass it to Christy, pass it to Lisa. Give me the last names, for crying out loud. It's broadcasting 101, people. E.J. Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
I want to give a thumbs up to Taco Fall and the UCF basketball team. I thought that they came out and played absolutely phenomenal in this tournament. And I think that they really do deserve a thumbs up. He's a guy that you got to watch out for at this next level. I mean, he gave Duke all that they could handle, and the whole world knew he was getting the ball. So thumbs up to him. Thumbs down to the I really don't. I guess I don't have a thumbs down this week. If I tried to create one, I'd say some of the controversy surrounding the NFL right now with the Robert Kraft situation and so on. I'll give that my thumbs down, but I really don't have anything to complain about this week.
Jay Russell, keeping it positive. Not Scott Nason. Butch Davis, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Fox broadcast there.
Oh.
And I know who the person was who did the broadcast there. And I'm not going to mention his name because I'll probably see him down the road a piece like on opening day. And I'll tell him,
right.
you know, what got you in that position. But again, Mickey York and some of the other broadcasters who were maybe available, to do something of that sort there. Or maybe you get some people from Grand Rapids, seasoned veteran broadcasters who work with maybe Fox in that particular area there to come on in there and help you on out and do some things here. I just thought it was bad there, do for that girls, all 4 of those games there, the way they were broadcasted there. It wasn't broadcasted like the men's broadcast or the boys' broadcast there. And they'll get the thumbs down for me. Thumbs up will go to the WWE, of course, there for their putting the main event and looking at over the year, this year, a lot of the women's event deserved praise there. And for these women, Ronda Rousey, and to when they brought her in there, who would have thought that she would have be the anchor that brings women's wrestling into fruition, where basically you can't get enough of it there. I mean, Charlotte Flair was great the year back when her and not Becky Lynch per se, but oh boy, I can't. Yeah, going to mention body parts, but I know that's not permissible on this show either. But again, for them to do some of the job. I mean, for the last year, the women has been outstanding in bringing the WWE to the level they should be there. If they can get the Abu Dhabi show ready where the women can perform in that would make this doggone thing very special. But because of the customs of that particular country, that's gonna be a wow per se there. But again, the women deserve to have that main event shine on them. They have been the reason the WWE. Many people have watched the WWE this year there.
Butch Davis, E.J. Russell joining us on the game. Gentlemen, let's go around the horn one more time before we end the show. E.J., of course, on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota in Escanaba. E.J., we're getting close to April. I hope you got less snow than we do here in Sault Ste. Marie. What's on tap for you this week, sir?
Well, I think it's statistically impossible almost to have more snow than Sault Ste. Marie. You guys led the country there, but really excited to get into baseball. Tokyo series coming up. I'm excited to see that because it's always enjoyable. Japanese fans always show up, and it's always a good time. And just love the game going international like that. So baseball season's piquing my interest. Obviously, the NCAA tournament is the main focus right now. And the NFL draft coming up. Excited to see where some of these players go. DK Metcalf is a guy that I'm very interested to follow as a professional, see where he ends up. And Dwayne Haskins from my Ohio State Buckeyes. I think he'll be a great fit for a team like the New York Giants. I think that they should draft him. I think he's a player that needs to be high on your board. And other than that, just I'm going to keep plugging away here in Escanaba and enjoying some of this nice weather.
EJ, we appreciate you joining us on the game. We look forward to talking to you next week. April Fool's next Monday, my friend.
Well, good. I'm a fool, so I should fit right in.
EJ, thanks for joining us. And Butch Davis, of course, you can hear Butch's show, Butch on Sports, on his podcast page, Simply Butch 2. That's too.podomatic.com, as well as the website of this page, thegamesportshow.com. Butch, what's in store for you this week, my friend?
Oh boy, just going through the emotions of getting the knees ready to go. I'm now walking without the walker here now. Feeling a little less pain, although may I tell everyone the ice pack is your friend. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
It is. It's very much. I ice packed it during this whole show, and it's got me through here. And I can't wait to get that leg propped up in a bed here and watch TV and eat some snacks here. Again, not too much going on here. I'm going to be watching a lot of sports. And EJ, you can forgot that the Tokyo series was last week there when Oakland and Seattle got into play. Major League Baseball has already started there per se there with the 2-game series in Tokyo.
Oops.
Ichiro retiring in that last game he played last week. I do believe that game was on Wednesday morning there. Because I was walking out of the house going to a doctor's appointment here when the game was still on. But yes, Major League Baseball has started. The official Major League Baseball, per se, for the United States and in Canada will start on Thursday with the Tigers again going up in I'm saying the Sky Dome. I never liked
That's what I said too.
The Sky Dome, doggone it. True. I love that name here. I love that name. They'll be in the play next week on the 4th, on a Thursday afternoon. It'll be baseball. And just like you want it there at Comerica Park, hopefully it's a 70-degree day and it's not cold and freezing where I got to run and hide and find a heater or whatever, maybe to keep warm. But hopefully things are a lot better during that time.
Butch, thanks for joining us. Rest up, get that knee better, and we'll talk to you next week on April Fool's Day here at the Wicked Sister.
Oh, yeah. 18 more days before Butchie's birthday. Shoot.
All right, we will definitely celebrate it here coming up in April. I want to thank Butch, along with E.J. Russell, and all our guests in the first hour. Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles, along with David Paitson, Dr. David Paitson, athletic director for the Lake Superior State University Laker program, along with our broadcast engineer, Trent Raymond, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. We will talk to you next Monday night here at the Wicked Sister for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.
See ya.